In the quiet town of Ellington, life was about to take a chilling turn just 2 days before Christmas. A frantic call shattered the holiday peace, summoning first responders to a scene that would haunt them forever. As they entered the home, the air thick with dread and confusion, they were met with a gruesome tableau. A woman's lifeless body sprawled across the basement floor, 2 gunshots marking the end of her life. Who was this woman, Connie Debates, and why had she met such a violent fate? Nearby, her husband Richard lay tied to a chair, bleeding but claiming a masked intruder had committed the atrocity. Yet, as investigators delved deeper, the truth began to unravel, revealing a web of deceit, betrayal, and a sinister motive lurking just beneath the surface. Before we dive deeper, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. New stories every day. The sun dipped low on December 23, 2016, casting long shadows across the quiet cul-de-sac of Birchview Drive in Ellington. With the air crisp and filled with the scent of pine, the festive spirit of the holiday season enveloped the neighborhood, where twinkling lights adorned homes and the laughter of children echoed down the streets. Yet, within one house, a sinister silence cloaked a horrifying reality. First responders arrived, their sirens slicing through the tranquil atmosphere, announcing their presence with urgency and dread. As they stepped into the home, the warmth of the season was replaced by an unsettling chill. The front door swung open, revealing a scene that would etch itself into their memories forever. The kitchen floor was marred with smears of blood, a gruesome welcome mat to the horror that lay beneath. Each step forward was heavy with the weight of what they were about to witness. The investigators descended into the basement, where chaos reigned. Their eyes scanned the dimly lit room, taking in the details. A razor knife lay discarded on the floor, alongside a butane torch, tools that hinted at a violent struggle. And then there was the body. Connie Debates, a 39-year-old woman, lay lifeless, her spirit extinguished by 2 ruthless gunshots, one to the back of her head, the other to her abdomen. The juxtaposition of her vibrant existence against such a brutal end was almost too much to comprehend. Nearby, her husband, 40-year-old Richard Debates, was tied to a chair, blood seeping from his wounds. His immediate reaction was a desperate plea, a frantic claim of a masked intruder demanding money, fleeing the scene after committing the atrocity. The 911 call, made amidst the chaos, painted a picture of terror and confusion. Richard's voice, though trembling, was calm and structured, recounting a narrative that seemed all too simple against the backdrop of the heinous crime. But as the investigators began to peel back the layers of this tragic tale, a dissonance emerged between Richard's account and the digital evidence that followed. At 8 a.m., he claimed to have driven the children to school, returning home by 8:45. Yet, a digital trail began to unfurl, revealing a timeline that contradicted his story. At 8:26, he was logged into Facebook from his home computer, and by 9:04, an email was dispatched to his supervisor, a seemingly innocuous detail that would soon prove crucial. The Fitbit strapped to Connie's wrist recorded activity long after Richard claimed she had succumbed to her injuries. Moments of movement were captured, the garage door opening, the countdown of her last recorded activity, a chilling reminder that life persisted even as death lingered nearby. By the time a 911 call came in around 10:30, more than an hour had passed since Richard purportedly heard the shots. The forensic evidence was equally damning. There were no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints on the rifle that lay nearby, and the supposed wallet stolen from the house was discovered intact in the yard. Richard's knife wounds were determined to be superficial, raising questions about his claim of a struggle. Even the police canine, trained to detect the faintest scent, showed a peculiar interest in Richard, returning to him repeatedly, as if sensing something amiss. In the aftermath of the murder, Richard's actions did little to allay suspicions. The day after Connie's death, he engaged a lawyer, a swift move that hinted at premeditated intent. Within a week, he filed a staggering $475,000 claim on Connie's life insurance, coupled with a withdrawal of $93,000 from an investment account that had been under her name. It was as if he had been waiting for the right moment, calculating his moves with the precision of a chess player poised to checkmate. Further unraveling the narrative of their life together, investigators discovered a note on Connie's phone, chilling in its clarity, a list titled, "Why I Want a Divorce." In her own words, she chronicled feelings of betrayal and isolation, revealing a woman weighed down by debts and disappointed dreams. Meanwhile, Richard's browser history painted a far more sinister picture. Searches for combinations of lethal, over-the-counter drugs, untraceable homemade poisons, and tasteless toxins spoke volumes about his intentions, revealing a man who had perhaps been planning his wife's demise long before that fateful day. In the days leading up to Connie's tragic end, Richard's secret life unraveled further. His affair with a woman named Sarah was more than a fleeting dalliance. It was a full-fledged relationship, complicated by the impending arrival of a child. Text messages sent just 2 days before the murder revealed his intentions to leave Connie, professing love for Sarah while carefully scripting a facade of marital normalcy. As the layers of this heartbreaking saga continued to peel away, it became increasingly clear that what lay before investigators was more than just a murder case. It was a reflection of human complexities, unspoken truths, and the consequences of choices made in the shadows. Each element of the narrative intertwined, painting a portrait of betrayal, ambition, and a desperate quest for freedom, all culminating in a tragic end that would forever alter the lives of those left behind. In the stillness of that basement, amid the echoes of gunfire, the haunting question lingered: who truly was the victim in this unfolding tragedy? In the quiet streets of a suburban neighborhood, the sun rose lazily, spilling soft light over manicured lawns and neatly trimmed hedges. It was a picturesque setting, where the humdrum of daily life blended seamlessly with the comforting cadence of chirping birds and the distant laughter of children preparing for another school day. Yet, on this fateful morning, the serenity would soon be overshadowed by an insidious darkness that crept through the doorways of what was once a loving home. As the clock ticked toward 9 a.m., life in the Davis household took a turn into the unimaginable. Richard Davis, a man juggling the demands of work and family, had just taken his children to school, a routine that, like the sun itself, had become a reliable constant in his life. The unassuming structure of their home, with its warm, inviting facade, masked the turmoil simmering beneath its roof. What was supposed to be a day like any other transformed into a waking nightmare the moment he stepped back inside. Connie Davis, his wife, was preparing for a spin class, her energy palpable, the kind of enthusiasm that often accompanies the promise of a new day. Her movements were fluid, a dance of domesticity. Yet unbeknownst to her, the safety of their haven was about to be shattered. After Richard left to change his work shirt, Connie's world shifted when she learned that her class was canceled. She turned the car around, her thoughts likely filled with mundane considerations, unaware that a lurking danger awaited her return. Moments later, as Richard drove back, a sudden alert on his phone shattered his tranquility, a warning that the home alarm had been triggered. Instinctively, he felt a rush of dread welling within him. Each passing second stretched into an eternity as he raced home, the thoughts of what lay ahead darkening his mind. The ordinary rhythm of suburban life dissolved, replaced by the grim anticipation of something horribly wrong. Upon entering the house, he felt the stillness, the eerie silence punctuated only by the sound of his own heartbeat. It was then that he caught sight of the intruder, a tall figure clad in camouflage, a mask obscuring any hint of identity. Confusion and fear coursed through him as he confronted this malignant presence, an unwelcome intruder rummaging through the personal effects of their shared life. The man demanded money, his voice low and menacing, a gravelly growl that sent shivers through Richard's spine. In a frantic bid to protect his family, Richard handed over his wallet, his mind racing through a litany of possible outcomes. Yet, it was too late. Connie's return from the driveway had triggered a chain of events spiraling out of control. Richard's desperate call for Connie to run echoed through the house, a panic-fueled plea that would soon turn to gut-wrenching despair. Instead of fleeing, she descended into the basement, likely seeking to arm herself with one of the guns they had kept for protection. A choice made in the heat of the moment, perhaps driven by an instinct to shield her family, now placed her directly in the path of danger. As Richard stood frozen in time, the chaos erupted. 2 gunshots rang out in rapid succession, piercing the thick air with an unimaginable finality. The noise reverberated through the walls, a harrowing symphony of violence that left a scar on the collective psyche of the neighborhood. Richard's legs propelled him down the stairs, his mind focused solely on one terrifying thought: Connie. But as he entered the basement, the scene that met him would forever haunt his memories. Connie lay lifeless on the floor, the brutal aftermath of a confrontation that had spiraled beyond comprehension. The masked figure, now turned on him, became a blur of chaos and malice. Richard felt the cold bite of a utility knife against his skin, the sharpness of the blade contrasting with the warmth of his blood. Bound by plastic zip ties, the world around him faded as he grappled with the bitter taste of helplessness. In that basement, the narrative of their lives twisted into something profoundly tragic. The echoes of gunfire, the brutal violence, and the disintegration of a family were no longer mere headlines or sensational stories for the evening news. They were now the haunting reality that lingered in the air, a dark cloud hovering over the community. As investigators arrived, the yellow police tape stretching across lawns would mark not just a crime scene, but a crossroads of love, betrayal, and irreversible loss. The complexities of human relationships, the fragility of trust, and the unforeseen consequences of choices would ripple outwards, touching the lives of friends, family, and neighbors, forever altering the fabric of their shared existence. This tragedy was more than a crime. It was a profound exploration of the human condition, a stark reminder that beneath the surface of idyllic suburban life, darkness can reside, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. The investigation into the tragic murder of Connie DeBate quickly evolved into a complex tapestry of emotions and revelations, intricately woven into the lives of those affected. In the immediate aftermath of the horrific crime, the picturesque town of Vernon found itself shrouded in a pall of uncertainty and fear, its residents grappling with the unsettling realization that their close-knit community was not immune to violence. The very streets where children once played became arenas of suspicion, as whispers of doubt began to circulate among friends and neighbors. As detectives delved deeper into the details of that fateful night, they found themselves in a maze of conflicting narratives and unsettling behaviors. Richard DeBate, Connie's husband, seemingly emerged from the storm of tragedy with an unnerving calmness. His ability to maintain an outward appearance of normalcy, dining out, engaging in social events, and even hosting gatherings, stood in stark contrast to the mourning his neighbors expected from a man whose life had been irrevocably shattered. This dissonance did not go unnoticed. It fueled gossip and speculation, transforming Richard from a grieving husband into an enigmatic figure cloaked in suspicion. The complexities of grief became a focal point of public discourse. While some argued that his jovial demeanor was a testament to his resilience, others regarded it as a chilling sign that something was amiss. Friends and family began to question whether the persona Richard displayed was authentic or a facade hastily crafted to obscure deeper truths. In communities faced with tragedy, the human instinct often leans towards seeking clarity and closure. Yet, in this case, the uncertainty only intensified the collective anxiety. As Richard took to social media to express gratitude for the support he received, the emotional landscape grew even murkier. His declarations of strength for his children, shared in the midst of a personal hell, left many grappling with the notion of how to interpret his grief. Was he genuinely steadfast, or was there something lurking beneath the surface? The labyrinth of human emotion and the varied ways individuals cope with loss became an essential element of the narrative. Each passing day, as unanswered questions lingered, Richard became not just a figure of sympathy, but one of suspicion. Investigators remained vigilant, sifting through the scant evidence and piecing together the fragmented timeline of events. The absence of clear signs of forced entry into the debate's home raised eyebrows. The notion that a killer could have infiltrated their lives unnoticed was unsettling. The open basement window, a seemingly innocuous detail, became a focal point of speculation. Was it a mere oversight or an entry point for a determined assailant? As crime scene units scoured the vicinity, the lack of physical evidence and the initial confusion surrounding the timeline only added to the tension. The search for forensic evidence intensified, with officers painstakingly awaiting results from lab tests that would either solidify or dismantle the burgeoning theories surrounding Richard's involvement. Days turned into weeks, and the community's appetite for answers only grew. The shared hope that justice would be served battled against an undercurrent of fear that perhaps the answers would lead to an uncomfortable truth, one that could irrevocably alter the lives of those still clinging to the memory of Connie. Meanwhile, the whispers in Vernon turned into conversations of caution. What had once been a sanctuary of suburban tranquility was now a nexus of anxiety. Neighbors exchanged wary glances, and parents were forced to confront a reality they never anticipated. Their children were not safe from the horrors of the world, even within the protective bounds of their own neighborhood. As the investigation continued to unfold, the community stood at a crossroads. The hopes for resolution remained intertwined with the fear of what that resolution might reveal. Richard's behavior under scrutiny only heightened the stakes, as he became a focal point for both support and suspicion. The questions hung in the air, tangible and heavy, as if waiting for the right moment to be answered. In this haunting atmosphere, the story of Connie and Richard debate spiraled into a profound exploration of love, betrayal, and the depths of human emotion. Each development within the investigation became a turning point, not just for the people involved, but for the entire community, as they grappled with the complexities of grief, loyalty, and the stark reality of their shared existence. In the quiet, echoing spaces of Vernon, the shadows of doubt danced alongside the memories of a life once filled with laughter and light, a poignant reminder that sometimes the truths we uncover can be as devastating as the tragedies that inspire the search for them. As the investigation unraveled, the narrative of Richard and Connie debate morphed from what once appeared to be a tragic incident into a labyrinth of deception, betrayal, and unhinged desperation. Richard struggled between the dual lives he led. The devoted husband and the secret lover lay bare a raw portrait of humanity's darker impulses. The decision to end Connie's life was not merely an act of violence. It was a manifestation of Richard's deep-seated fear, a fear fueled by his inability to confront the aftermath of his own choices. Richard's fleeting resolve to initiate divorce proceedings, an outreach to an attorney in June 2015, cast an ominous foreshadowing of the tragic events that would unfold. Yet, the inertia of his inaction suggested a man caught in the grip of indecision. The absence of formal steps, coupled with the whirlwind relationship he nurtured with Sarah, created a wicked tension that reverberated throughout their lives. 2 days before the murder, Richard's correspondence with Sarah revealed an unsettling promise. He was ready to leave Connie. His declaration of love was resonant, yet it was suffused with the betrayal that would soon take its toll. Connie's own voice surfaced amid the turmoil, manifesting in heated exchanges that crackled with accusation and hurt. When she admonished Richard for lying about finances, it was a flash of her determination, a woman not willing to ignore the fissures in her marriage. The juxtaposition of her confrontation with Richard's clandestine activities, secret credit cards, extravagant gifts for Sarah, and untraceable searches for poison, painted a chilling portrait of a man spiraling into moral decay. Richard had crafted a life built on deception, his heart divided, and within that divide lay the seeds of his own undoing. In the days leading up to the tragedy, the ordinary routines of life continued, but their undercurrents were anything but mundane. Christmas bore down upon them as a time typically laden with joy. Yet for Richard, it became a backdrop for his subterfuge. He submerged himself deeper into his dual existence, spending lavishly, engaging in illicit encounters, and spiraling further away from the very woman who had once shared his dreams. The Fitbit Connie wore became an unintentional witness to the unraveling tapestry of their lives. Its data, an immaculate ledger of her last moments, would ultimately stand in stark contrast to Richard's narrative. The morning of Connie's death unfolded like a theatrical tragedy, each piece of evidence laying bare a chilling timeline. Richard's actions juxtaposed against Connie's movements painted a stark portrait of culpability. While he claimed to be a startled husband, the Fitbit revealed that Connie was engaged in her routine, arriving at the gym as Richard was orchestrating a plan that would end her life. The disarming and rearming of the home alarm system became a silent witness to his malevolent intentions, each action echoing in the halls of justice. The investigators, relentless in their pursuit of truth, began piecing together an unsettling mosaic of evidence. Richard's attempt to manipulate the timeline was laid bare through a combination of digital records, security footage, and the heart-wrenching data from Connie's Fitbit. The culmination of these elements created a compelling narrative that transcended mere conjecture. It became a testimony to the chaos that ensued when love eroded into treachery. Each moment captured on surveillance cameras, each digital footprint left behind, became a testament to Richard's unraveling psyche. The mundane act of logging onto social media, the calculated timing of emails, all contributed to a growing tapestry that implicated him further. As investigators reconstructed that morning, it became clear Richard was not merely a passive participant in the tragic events. He was the architect of chaos. In the quiet corners of Vernon, where whispers of the tragedy had seeped into the fabric of the community, the consequences of Richard's choices became palpable. The story that began with a presumed sense of normalcy spiraled into a cautionary tale of love turned malevolent. As the investigation continued to unfold, the consequences reached beyond the confines of a single home. The community was left to grapple with the haunting question: how could one act of desperation lead to such profound loss? The shadows of doubt and betrayal lingered, shaping the lives of all who sought to comprehend the tragic narrative of Connie and Richard Debate. Amid the grief, there lay a lingering reminder of the complexities of human emotion, how love can transform into something dark, irrevocably intertwining lives in a manner that forever alters the course of their existence. In the aftermath of the harrowing trial, the small community of Ellington found itself at a crossroads, grappling with the deeply embedded wounds that had surfaced in the wake of Connie Debate's tragic death. The courtroom drama had become a crucible, revealing not only the complexities of human emotion, but also the fragile threads that bind individuals to one another. As testimony unfolded, it became clear that the events surrounding Connie's murder transcended mere facts and evidence. They revealed a tapestry of relationships, betrayals, and the human psyche's darker corners. Richard Debate took the stand, his voice trembling as he recounted the chaos of that fateful night. Here, amidst the charged atmosphere of the courtroom, he became both a defendant and a tragic figure, caught in a web of love and loss. His admission of being in love with two women, a revelation that seemed to echo both vulnerability and arrogance, provided a glimpse into his inner turmoil. Yet, the jury was tasked with sifting through the narrative of a man who claimed to feel trapped, a man who, in that moment, stood accused of shattering lives in pursuit of a facade he feared losing. As the trial progressed, it became increasingly evident that the prosecution's portrayal of Richard as a ticking time bomb resonated with many. The pressure of impending divorce, the fear of losing his children, and the specter of public disgrace painted a portrait of desperation that perhaps could drive a man to unspeakable acts. At the same time, the defense's insistence on unidentified DNA and claims of an unseen intruder introduced a veil of uncertainty, forcing the community to confront a harsh reality. The truth often lies in the murky waters of human behavior, where emotions reign supreme and logic falters. The trial concluded with a palpable tension, the community holding its collective breath as the jury deliberated. The moment the verdict was rendered, the air was thick with anticipation, the weight of the decision reverberating through every heart and home in Ellington. Richard was found guilty, a conclusion that sent shockwaves through the neighborhood. With this verdict, the community not only mourned the loss of Connie, a beloved daughter, sister, and mother, but also the loss of their own sense of safety and trust. The very foundations of their lives felt shaken, as the specter of domestic violence, a silent killer often cloaked in the guise of normalcy, now loomed large. In the wake of the trial, as the dust settled, the community began to heal, albeit slowly and painfully. Vigils were held in Connie's memory, her laughter echoing in the hearts of those who knew her. Tragically, her story became emblematic of a larger societal issue, one that transcended the boundaries of Ellington. Discussions surrounding familial relationships, mental health, and the dynamics of love and possession became focal points within the community. The residents, once living in the comfort of their own routines, were now compelled to engage in uncomfortable conversations about the nature of relationships and the importance of recognizing the signs of emotional distress. Schools initiated programs aimed at educating students about healthy relationships and the warning signs of manipulation and control. Support groups emerged, providing safe spaces for individuals to share their experiences and seek solace in one another's company. The tragedy of Connie DeBate had ignited a flame of awareness, a fierce reminder that love, while powerful, could also twist into something sinister if left unexamined. Richard DeBate, now a figure synonymous with loss and betrayal, became a case study for mental health professionals and law enforcement alike. His story was dissected in academic settings, where students and professionals sought to understand the psychology behind such tragic decisions. The dialogue surrounding his motivations, ignited by his reflections during the trial, became a springboard for discussions about the pressures men face in society, the stigma surrounding vulnerability, and the potential for tragic outcomes when emotional struggles go unaddressed. As years passed, the community continued to rally around Connie's memory, establishing scholarships in her name and engaging in outreach initiatives aimed at empowering individuals trapped in similar cycles of abuse. While the pain of loss never fully dissipated, the enduring impact of that harrowing night catalyzed a movement toward healing and vigilance. The story of Connie and Richard DeBate became a lesson etched into the community's consciousness, a stark reminder that love must be nurtured with empathy and understanding, lest it spiral into darkness that irrevocably alters lives forever. In this way, the legacy of a single tragic event morphed into a broader narrative about love, life, and the necessity of confronting uncomfortable truths, a legacy that would resonate far beyond the borders of Ellington, urging society to address the complexities of human relationships in all their forms. The courtroom became a battleground, echoing with the turmoil of conflicting narratives and shattered lives. Richard DeBate's defense painted a portrait of a man ensnared by fear and desperation, yet the prosecution painted a chilling picture of a once loving husband turned cold and calculating. As the trial unfolded, unyielding testimonies piled atop one another, building a complex tapestry of deceit, love, and betrayal. In the end, this tragic saga transcended one man's fate. It provoked a community to grapple with the hidden shadows lurking behind familiar facades. The echoes of this story will resonate, a haunting reminder that love, when neglected, can lead to unfathomable consequences. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone. Comment your city and your local time. Say hello to the people in the comments. I would love to know where and when you're hearing this. And if you have a story you want me to cover, let me know. Subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one.